All right, Chris, can we try this again?
I've got to pick up my legal communication.
Okay.
I just want to.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I got you.
I don't want to make Mr. Hart, Dr. Hartman.
Oh,
I can't hear you.
Somebody else does. I mean, it seems like fairly.
All right, can we do another test? I hear you on Facebook Live, but I'm not hearing you. I've got this computer all the way up.
Another option would be
All right, Chris, we're going to try again. Sorry about this.
well.
Yes, I can still see you, but we're still not hearing anything.
Morning.
All right, Chris, I think we've got it figured out this time. Can you give it another shot?
Just yesterday, I was doing a few errands,
He's talking. We're still.
and there were people from this precinct 4 running out to look like Whitson, Whitson Valley. I didn't follow it, but
Russ,
you could see on how
I
the
can check, so the mics are on.
catches the fires,
Don't say anything.
tosses cigarettes. Smart.
Audio problems with
Right now, as soon as we get those problems corrected, we'll start. So.
Yes, sir. We'll let you know. All right, Chris, can we check this again?
Okay. You need me to talk? Is that what you're saying? Oh.
Okay. Still not hearing anything. right, are you able to hear us? Yeah, he can hear us, but we still.
See if he can dial the calling number for the meeting and use his phone for audio and use his camera for video.
I don't know how to get all that.
So it should be on the jump back in the info, sorry.
Your meeting ID followed by pound. You entered 416823. This meeting ID does not exist. Please re-enter your meeting ID followed by pound.
Hey, Chris, can you try talking now? We're hearing
How about
you.
now?
Oh, we can hear you.
All right, great. Wonderful.
Finally.
Give us just a few minutes to get started.
Yes, thank
Okay.
you for your patience.
No.
Absolutely. Thank you.
So much that does it make a difference in
We ready? Okay. Commissioners Court of Brazos County will meet in regular session on July 26, 10 a.m. in the Commissioners Courtroom of the County Administration Building 200 South Texas Avenue, Suite 106. First item on the agenda is invocation pledge of allegiance to the U.S. and Texas flag. Commissioner Ford will lead us.
Please pray with me. Dear Lord, we thank you for this day. We hope that you watch over us during our work today. We ask you, Lord, that you consider our farmers and ranchers and our community as far as our rainfall situation. We certainly could use rain, Lord. We ask that you watch over our brothers and sisters in Ukraine. Take care of them as they fight for freedom. We ask that you watch over our first responders, our military, and our educators. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, Commissioner. Second item on the agenda is call for citizens' input and/or concerns. Jason.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners. Just wanted to give y'all a real quick update. We are critically dry as far as the drought index is concerned. On the high side, we're at 778 on a scale of 800. So it is a very critical situation out there. Our fire departments have run since June 26th. We have run 61 grass fires. That's not including the other calls for service that we get. That does not include the city of Bryan and city of College Station. I know that the volunteer departments have gone into the cities to assist on several wildland fires. But, and then of course we've deployed to Madison County as well to assist with some wildland fires up there. But just want to give you a quick update, let y'all know that we are doing what we can to protect structures. We have not lost any structures on any of the wildland fires that we've had up to this point. So pray for that and pray for rain. Thank you.
Jason,
Thank you.
Jason,
Yes, sir.
is there an underlying cause? As I see these fires on the TV and the news reports and everything, is trash burning the biggest problem, or are cars pulling over on the side of the road and the heat from the exhaust system?
Cigarettes.
Cigarettes?
So when we start having the roadside fires, as we're seeing along the roadways, trailers, the trailer chains dragging on the ground can be a cause. Improper disposal of cigarettes is a big problem. We did run quite a few July 4th due to fireworks. But at this point, and we've actually identified 2 fires in the last week that were just spontaneous combustion of compost piles.
I saw that.
So the conditions are right with low humidity, higher winds, and very high temperatures, and the dryness of the fuels. The conditions are absolutely right for spontaneous combustion. And that was, I spoke to a captain with the State Fire Marshal's office to confirm that, and he said yes. So at this point in time, we are, if somebody's baling hay and they hit a rock, it could spark a grass fire at this point. Mowing grass and hit a rock. Anything at this point could start a grass fire. So thank y'all very much.
Thank you.
So
Thank
what
you,
you're saying is if you don't have the area of combustibles mowed back from a property that you want to protect, that with the conditions that exist now, you're more likely to create a problem than solve a problem.
So what we call that is defensible space. So we recommend at least 50 feet, 75 feet away from your residence, mow the grass as short as you possibly can. On the wildfire in Commissioner Ford's precinct the other day at 1179 and Shirley, the grass was only an inch or 2 tall, but it was running right across the top of that like it was nothing. It made it very, very difficult to control. So, but had it been 6 inches of hay, we would have been in a world of problems. So whatever residents can do to help us out will be in great appreciation.
So if you are mowing, have a fire extinguisher or water hose nearby.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jason.
And pray the heart.
Any other citizen input and/or concern? Hearing none. Number 3, we will have a presentation and discussion. The Brazos County Medical Examiner's Office needs assessment from Chris Noor, and from the Smith Group. Chris, he's online.
Thank you, everyone. Good morning. I appreciate this opportunity. Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Wonderful. All right. Let me share my screen. And if you are able to see that, I will get started. So as mentioned, I'm Chris Noor with Smith Group. We're an architecture and engineering firm that's helped a number of jurisdictions to envision and realize goals for new critical infrastructure. And we certainly believe that a medical examiner is just that. It's a public health asset. Advancing the slides. So I wanted to cover a couple of things briefly. The goal is to be able to provide a little bit of an introduction on what makes a medical examiner special. The second topic will be to cover who this building is going to be constructed for, and has a direct connection to how population change will impact a medical examiner operation. Likely the last two sections are what you'd like me to jump to, but I wanted to give a little bit of a brief introduction on where we came from, and before we provide an idea for how much it's going to cost. So before I get into those topics specifically, I wanted to cover just briefly a little bit about Smith Group. As mentioned before, we're a design firm. We have approximately 1,300 interdisciplinary professionals, and what that means is that we have architects, engineers, interior designers, and planners spread across 18 offices throughout the United States. And as a large firm, we have a number of project types that we specialize in, and forensics, specifically medical examiners, is one where we have over 30 years of experience. We pride ourselves in designing facilities that serve the needs of the population and really foster a more efficient and effective way of providing critical services. So now on to what makes a medical examiner facility so special and what types of spaces that they need. So importantly, medical examiners are unique, and they're that way in many ways. The mission is to investigate the cause and manner of death for any time that it requires special circumstances, and that requires special spaces. They need to maintain chain of custody while ensuring that staff and public outside the facility are safe. Generally, a goal for the facility is to meet accreditation requirements and ensure that to ensure that the public that they're providing both thorough and accurate certification. And while they do all this, they treat the decedents and the families with utmost respect. Their primary role in the community is to, as I mentioned, identify the cause and manner of death, but with that being mindful of any trends that might be occurring in your community. So with medical examiners' help, this can translate into important interventions that can lead to a better informed population, really. So because the tasks are unique, medical examiner offices have correspondingly unique and orderly spaces that are resilient and durable. They should incorporate transparency whenever possible to bring in natural light while screening views from the exterior. But also within the facility, transparency allows for the team to be able to better communicate and potentially lend assistance when needed. The buildings need to plan for the future in a strategic way, because change is a certainty, so how the facility can adapt to that change is going to be critical. And the work is challenging, both physically and mentally, and recruitment and retention of staff is going to be important for a successful operation. Providing interior and exterior areas of respite allows the team to have a place for decompression after experiencing something that might be challenging for them. So on to the next point. Although there are important spaces that we didn't show, I wanted to step into and turn your attention, to the two questions of who this building is for and what you can be expecting. So, although a medical examiner may be constructed in one jurisdiction like Brazos County, it truly serves the region. And for the National Association of Medical Examiners, the goal is to avoid exceeding 100 miles in radius to prevent long transportation times from getting to and from a scene and to the facility. So here you can see that the counties within the Brazos Valley are well connected and well within that suggested limit. So it's likely not a surprise to you all, but the population of the region is expected to gradually increase over the next 30 years. And if we apply a similar percentage of growth across a few more years from that, there's a strong likelihood that the region will be over 500,000 people in the year 2050. And this information is important because population change is directly related to the demand on a medical examiner. So we can't just look forward, we also have to look retrospectively, so we can understand how autopsies how many autopsies are ordered across the last few years. And when we look across the country over the last few years, your region unfortunately follows the national trend for an increasing caseload. We want to look at the number of autopsies that are completed for each 1,000 people in the catchment area, so that we can apply that factor to the changing population going forward. So here we see a change from around half, 0.5 to 0.75 autopsies per 1,000 for people exclusively in Brazos County. That rate up to 0.75 is actually very common for your peers in the medical examiner community, and it aligns very closely with partner communities within the Valley. So again, I wanted to point out this increasing trend helps to identify that a prudent strategy would be to anticipate an autopsy rate of 0.75 autopsies per 1,000 people in the population. So this is going to be a little bit busy slide, lots of numbers on it, but what I wanted to highlight is that when we look into the future, Brazos County will see consistent growth in autopsy demand. And when we add the partner counties, everyone else in the Brazos Valley, of around 110 autopsies per year, the annual decedent load would likely increase from up to between 450 and 500 autopsies per year. So knowing that the number of autopsies that we can expect helps us to understand how many staff will be required to handle the load, along with what space they're going to need in order to do their work. So what roles are required? On the front of the house, the very important medical team would consist of forensic pathologist, a chief and likely a deputy chief medical examiner. Those are board certified forensic pathologists. They're doctors. They're trained in how body systems operate and what impacts them. Helping the forensic pathologists are the autopsy assistants. They allow pathologists to be more efficient in the caseload and be able to do tasks that others are not able to do. Medical legal death investigators, they help to triage death reported to the office and collect information from families, medical records from the hospitals, and assist in the intake and release of remains from the facility. And then administrative staff will also need to handle public records requests and triage phone calls. Sometimes facilities with large annual autopsy demand will have specialty sections like blood toxicology or histology. These roles can cost effectively be outsourced for smaller operations as opposed to hiring part-time staff or full-time staff and then not having full utilization of their time. It also avoids having extra space in the facility, frankly. So here we go back to that slide, add a little bit more information on it for the number of autopsies. The top half is what you saw before, the goal of this slide is to be able to give you a little bit of an understanding on the number of staff required, and in this case, in year 2020, so just a couple years ago, at 232 autopsies for both Brazos County and those in the region, you would require at least one forensic pathologist. So that chief would be able to provide autopsies at a limit below what accreditation from National Association of Medical Examiners sets, 250 autopsies per year maximum. So along with that chief medical examiner, the operation will require about 6 staff. However, in the not too distant future, as the load increases, you'll need to hire an additional pathologist, so a deputy chief pathologist, chief medical examiner that is, in order to maintain accreditation. And the staff would likely grow to 9. But over the lifetime of the facility, you're looking at approximately 9 staff. So really there's a good consistency in the amount of staff you would need, and therefore the amount of space that you would need in order to accommodate the load. So how much could these salaries cost Brazos County? And these dollars are related to day one costs of today's costs if you were to open your facility today. And the total staff salary expense at opening would be around $475,000. Now, if we apply today's salary cost, the number of staff, and the ultimate build, that total burden would be just over $800,000. Now, of course, these staff members would need standard county benefits and cost of living increase that are not included in these numbers, but the goal was to be able to help the county understand an approximate cost for the staff salaries. So to understand how much space the operation will require, we use benchmarking of peers in the industry. And some of these facilities extend from California and Idaho in the west to Ohio and Kentucky in the east. They all have similar needs for spaces, but the number of those spaces and the size of them will vary based on the total autopsy load and therefore the total staff required for an effective operation. So although it helps to understand where other facilities are for their net assignable square footage per staff member, of the peer facilities that I just showed, Placer County in California with around 17 staff is probably the closest approximation. And smaller operations will generally require the same things that larger facilities need. But unfortunately, you can only downsize or reduce the spaces so much before they're ineffective. So therefore, the net area per staff member increases slightly. So the recommendation is planned for around 900 net assignable square feet per staff member. So if we apply this to the 9 staff, that net assignable area, the area that you can actually use, like an autopsy space or an office, that total area of 8,000 net square feet grows to around 16,000 gross square feet when non-program spaces like circulation and toilet rooms and lecture rooms are all added. This area also includes an appropriately sized meeting space that will allow for training of allied groups and also potentially flexible use for other county meetings. So now that we have an idea for the size of the facility, we also have a better understanding for what the facility may cost. And before I get into the actual number of the actual cost for the facility, I wanted to take a step back and briefly look at what goes into an overall project budget. And that budget is a combination of the construction costs, so that big bucket on the left, along with other soft costs on the right, such as permit fees, getting utilities to a site, and especially equipment needed for decedent imaging. So generally, construction cost is around 70 to 75% of the total project cost. We also need to consider cost escalation. I'm sure everyone is feeling it right now. Escalation is everywhere, and construction is included. So therefore, project duration is important to understand. And we're in the third quarter today of 2022. The expectation for project planning, developing a solicitation, selecting a design team, then developing the actual construction documents, and building the construction likely means the facility won't begin operation before 2026. But the midpoint of construction is where construction costs are generally escalated to, because at the beginning of construction, there's less increase for escalation, and at the end of the project, there's more increase for escalation. So that midpoint coincides with the middle of 2025. So our team worked with an outside estimator who has experience with multiple forensic facilities, both that we've worked with them on and others. And the 16,000 gross square feet would cost somewhere around $15 million today. If we escalated that to 2025, that cost would be nearly $17 million. And if we add all the soft costs to that project, to that construction, in order to get project cost, it would require around $22.5 million. So it is quite an expensive facility, but it is one that has very specialized spaces. So we covered a number of topics today, and I apologize for going really fast through it. I know you have a lot of other important things to cover in the Commissioners Court meeting today, but I wanted to make sure that you had a better idea for the types of specialized spaces in a medical examiner facility, that Brazos County and the region really will benefit from this operation. That staffing will likely be consistent throughout the facility's lifespan, and that leads to an overall facility size that remains consistent and is therefore really a fiscally responsible approach for building into the future. And overall, Brazos County should consider project costs around $22.5 million. So thank you. If there are any questions, I'd love to provide more insight.
Got questions?
Yeah. One of the things that I don't think we've looked into or addressed, and I think it's beyond kind of the scope, but it also, functionality-wise, makes a big difference is in speed of being able to do things is the laboratory costs for a lab that can do the medical laboratory work that's required by our coroner's office. And I was just wondering if we could get any insights into how the combinations of or pairings of those things work in synergy in order to look into, maybe it's the right time if we have a medical examiner's office here that we also have a lab that provides the services that are regional in nature and recruit that type of entity as well.
Yeah, absolutely. From a cost perspective, one thing that a number of facilities do see is that their jurisdictions have a reduced cost for transport. If you're transporting a decedent for a long distance to Montgomery County, for instance, there are costs that the county ends up paying along with the cost for that autopsy. So those are things that you would then bring in-house that you wouldn't have to pay other jurisdictions to handle for you. But along with that, there are other benefits for the larger region, and I know that Texas A&M has a very strong medical program. You'll have a much better chance of being able to recruit and retain staff that are coming from a highly technical university like Texas A&M. Other allied components like toxicology and histology could be added to your facility. I will say that there's a large number of toxicology screens that can be run per person, and so your demand is generally a little bit low for that. But that doesn't mean that you couldn't potentially utilize those services for toxicological needs of the county larger from a crime perspective. So normally toxicology for a medical examiner or coroner's office provides evaluation of blood and tissue when a person has died, excuse me. If you still have a need in the region for those services, if you're shipping out those services for people who are still living from a traffic stop, for instance, you might be able to then reduce your overall demand on outside forces to be able to send those samples away and wait for them to return. You have a little bit better opportunity to provide that synergy as you were speaking to. And there's a multitude of other potential smaller benefits, but those are the kind of the general ones that we see.
Thank you.
Can we discuss the construction of the facility? I'm curious, since we've already said that we do not need the full entire facility for 9 staff members initially, is there any staging that could be done on that construction where we might, for example, build the structure but not heat or air condition a portion of it until we needed it later?
That is absolutely an opportunity. For smaller facilities, it gets a little bit more challenging, frankly. However, there are things like being able to set aside space for growth and storage of supplies, and potentially a couple of other offices for a new forensic pathologist, for instance. Being able to shell a space is absolutely an opportunity. For a facility of approximately 16,000 square feet, building on later will likely be much more costly and impactful to the overall operation. So I think that the idea of potentially shelling some space under an initial build would be a much more appropriate strategy. Great question.
Any other questions? Thank you, Chris. Great presentation. It's kind of what we've needed so we can begin to look forward to moving on the medical examiner. It's something that we've had interest in for a long time, but we really haven't had a big bucket of money that we could actually get anything done. And now with the ARPA funds, it's given us an opportunity to take a second look at it. So I appreciate y'all stepping up and taking a second look at the study that you did several years ago, and we'll continue to move forward.
Great. Yeah, thank you so much, and congratulations. I certainly appreciate all the hard work that the team at the county did with me along the way. So thank you to Ed and Kimberly and others for all their assistance. And And frankly, I really applaud you for taking this opportunity to really improve the public health in your region. This facility is one that it will certainly serve you well, hopefully long into the future.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Okay. We will consider and take action on agenda items 4 through 25. Number 4 is Order 22-022 to retain and acquire legal counsel and professional services, law firm of West, Webb, Albritton, and Gentry, P.C. for intergovernmental transfer of real estate.
Move approval. Second.
Motion made, seconded, discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None motion carries. Number 5 is Order 22-023 to retain and acquire legal counsel and the professional services for law firm West, Webb, Albritton, Gentry, P.C. for real estate transaction and research.
Move approval. Second.
Motion made, seconded, discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None motion carries. Number 6 is request approval to expand $1 million budgeted in the transfer to Health and Life Fund for fiscal year 2021-2022 for other post-employment benefits. The funds will be transferred to OPEB trust managed by Public Financial Management and invested in principal and earnings to benefit Brazos County retiree health insurance.
Move approval.
Second?
Motion made, seconded, discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None motion carries. Number 7 is request to transfer $1,010,633.01 from Fund 2000 County Health and Endowment Fund to Fund 1000 General Fund. To transfer the funds will close out the Fund 2000 County Health Endowment Fund for fiscal year 2021-2022, and funding will not be allocated for this fund in the future.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion made, seconded, discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None motion carries. Number 8 is renewal of contract 22-144 with Innovative Transportation Solutions for transportation program development.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion made, seconded, discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None motion carries. Number 9 is approval of contract 22-151 for long-term juvenile residential services with Victoria County.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion made, seconded, discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None motion carries. Number 10 is approval of contract 22-152 for short-term juvenile detention services with Victoria County.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion made, seconded, discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None motion carries. Number 11 is approval of contract 22-153 for employment criminal background checks for Brazos County Sheriff's Office with Information Discovery Services, LLC.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion made, seconded, discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None motion carries. Number 12 is approval of amendment number 1 to contract CIP 22-636 JP Constable Precinct 1 building to correct the contractual contingency amount from $100,000 to $125,000.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion made, seconded, discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None motion carries. Number 13 is approval of following committee for the evaluation proposal RFP 23-008 for collection of delinquent criminal and civil court cost, fines, and fees.
Move approval A through E.
Second.
Motion made, seconded, discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None motion carries. Number 14 is permission to advertise for bid RFP 23-008 collection delinquent criminal court costs and fines and fees.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion made, seconded, discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None motion carries. Number 15 is approval of contract renewal 23-011R for carpet cleaning with ACC Texas Services, LLC.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion made, seconded, discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None motion carries. Number 16 is approval of contract renewal 23-012R janitorial services with First Commercial Janitorial.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion made, seconded, discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None motion carries. Number 17 is approval of the following committee for the evaluation of proposed RFP 23-015 sex offender treatment provider.
I'd like to offer a motion to approve with the change of one particular individual. I understand that Ms. Ricketson, the director, is on the committee, and that's right. But Ms. White, another staff member, I would like to offer that we substitute that name for Patrick Gendrum, and Patrick is the attorney that is working with the juveniles. I think that will give a different perspective, and it will be helpful to this committee in the selection. You want to speak to it?
If I may,
Certainly.
under the light of these circumstances, may we withdraw this for that consideration to make sure that we have a full understanding, Commissioner, of exactly the services that this is provided and how that may provide a fair and impartial evaluation of the proposals that we get in?
Yes.
We would put this off for 1 week.
And that's fine with me, Judge.
So we want to just table this then?
Yeah. That'll be
Motion,
fine. So
yeah, motion.
I'll offer my motion to table number 17.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to table number 17. Discussion. All in
And-
favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None motion carries.
We're keeping in mind that the sex offender treatment provider is very important and crucial to some of the cases that juvenile probation handles. So
Yes,
thank
ma'am.
you for
It has
that.
been and remains at the forefront of our.
Thank you for that.
And I guess we need to defer action on agenda item 18 as well.
Yes.
So
Is
moved.
that,
We can, if,
Well,
I believe that we
you
can
know,
still go ahead and advertise because
okay.
the evaluations
I would
will not
agree. I would
take
agree.
place for several weeks.
Then I
So
So
we'll have
withdraw
the
my
committee.
motion to
We should have
defer
time to-
action.
So for number 18, I'll offer a motion to approve.
Second.
motion made and seconded to approve 18. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None motion carries. Number 19 is consider and take action on Bryan, Texas utility permit to upgrade existing overhead electric power line on current alignment paralleling Mumford Road. Work begins approximately 1,580 feet southeast of North Harvey Mitchell Parkway, FM 2818, and continues to the BTU substation site located in Precinct 4.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None motion carries. Number 20 is approval of request for tax refund for Ross and Janet Epstein pursuant to tax code section 33.011.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion made, seconded. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None motion carries. Number 21 is budget amendments. Budget amendments to FY 21/22. Budget amendments 40.1 through 40.9.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion made, seconded. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None motion carries. Number 22 is personnel change status.
Move approval A and B.
Second.
Motion made, seconded to approve A and B. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None motion carries. Number 23 is payment of claims. Claims to be paid by Brazos County. Claim number 8116439 through claim number 8116582 and claim number 9005382 through claim number 9005428.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None motion carries. We will skip down to number 26 as an acknowledgement of FY 2021-22 budget to actuals by funds as of July 20, 2022. 27 is the acknowledgement of monthly reports submitted in July 2022. And number 28 is Juvenile Director's Report on Detention Population. Linda.
Good morning, Judge and Commissioners. We have 37 juveniles in detention, 27 males, 10 females, and we have 42 on electronic monitor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Linda. 29, Sheriff's Report on Inmate Population. Chief.
Hey, good morning, Judge, Commissioners. This morning we have 640 inmates. There's 538 males, 102 females. We have 47 on electronic monitor with 12 pending.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank y'all.
Thank you. Number 30 is announcement of interest items and possible future agenda topics.
Yeah, Judge, I'd just like to remind everybody that currently the community's local law enforcement and first responders are carrying on their annual Tip-A-Cop at the Roadhouse. So if you've got an opportunity to go over there and have dinner and put a little money in the kiddies for them to be able to continue to support services and programs for folks in our community who have special needs, then please consider going over there and doing that. They'll be doing that until Thursday.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner.
Judge, I also wanted to ask that we realize the urgency. Our budget office is short one person right now. We're in the middle of a budget cycle, but also I don't think that we currently have a budget officer. We've deferred that over to our auditor's office. We'd like to ask the court that we take action to make sure that that second position stays in the budget this year, and then also to see what our urgency would be on doing some work on getting a budget officer assigned.
Okay. Any other announcement? Number 31 is call for citizens input and or concerns. Hearing none, we'll move back up to 24 and convene an executive session pursuant to the following. A is Texas Government Code 551.074 to discuss the appointment, employment, evaluation, assignment, duties, discipline, and dismissal of a public officer or employee. B is Texas Government Code 551.071 to consult with an attorney about pending contemplated litigation and or a settlement offer. C, Texas Government Code 551.0745, deliberation by Commissioners Court about a county advisory board body. And D is Texas Government Code 551.0725 to deliberate business and financial issues related to a contract being negotiated. And is that the one we need to actually take a vote on?
Judge, we will not be going to executive for that.
Okay, so we'll eliminate D. We'll be going in for the first three. And it is 10:46. We need Cheryl, the commissioners, attorneys, Katie. I know we needed Kim in there for something, for one of those at least. Is that all?
Jennifer?
Yes, Jennifer would probably need in for something. And
Charles.
And Charles, okay. And it is 10:46. Ready? Okay, we're coming out of executive session. It's 11:20, and we do have action that needs to be taken.
I'd like to offer a motion that we exempt the adult probation department from the present rehire policy.
Second.
Okay, motion made, seconded to exempt adult probation from the rehire, the county policy for rehire. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None motion carries. I think that's the last action item we needed to take, and the next item is to adjourn.